anytime you need money within the next couple of years, probably not a good idea to have it.
All right, Lane Jones, thank you so much, and good advice there. All right, Cynthia, back over to you.
Time now at 6:43. What advice do we have when it comes to the weather? Lissette Gonzalez says,
prepare for another round of storms, Cynthia. I know.
Umbrella.
All about the umbrella, Ella. All right, good morning, South Florida. It was a soggy, gloomy holiday weekend. What a washout. It's time to head back to work, but take a look at this live shot from our Fort Lauderdale camera. Beautiful out there. The sun is rising. We got a few puffy clouds in the wind, but hey, it's mainly quiet and dry to start you off right now. That won't be the case later on. We did have a few showers early in Broward County, but gotta warn you, we are going to see another round of storms developing this afternoon as the temperatures heat up and we see that sea breeze kick in. And because we've got tons of moisture around, right now we're waking up with the mid to upper 70s, 80 degrees in Homestead, and visibility was reduced a little bit in Miami earlier, but right now looking okay. So the water vapor loop tells a story. We've got tons of moisture in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. In addition to that, we have a tropical disturbance, a vigorous wave down to our south in the northwestern Caribbean. That's also enhancing our rain chances across the area.
She is very popular in the market, and she just brings that very homey and very comfortable feeling when she presents the weather on news.
Immediately when I saw her name on the credits, I said, I gotta go see her, because I remember I was, had fond memories of her. So I went to see it with my family, and I was delighted to see. She's very talented. She impressed me because I'd never seen her perform. She's a very good dancer, singer, beautiful voice, just beautiful stage presence. So I was so pleasantly surprised when finally one day, we're looking at tapes of prospective weather anchors for our morning news, and I saw Lissette in the group, and I said, absolutely, we gotta have her.
Obviously, it's a very competitive market, and it's a very competitive position. So I think on the average, when you have an opening, especially being in a city as Miami, it could be anywhere between 50 to 100 people who ultimately apply for a specific position. And I think the fact that, when you're looking at talent, you want to see how they relate to the other people that they're working with, and the way that they relate to the viewers. It's one thing that you're sitting there and you're talking to a piece of equipment, but there's that skill set that you have to actually communicate with the viewer. And the viewer can see that you're talking to them and not at them. And I think that's one key quality that Lissette brings to the table.
She was trying to sing "The Wind Beneath My Wings," and she couldn't get the words out because she was so emotional, because it was like a very personal day. So that day, really bonded us. I mean, I've always been a fan, but that day, she became family to me.
Weather forecasts have become a very important part of the daily news, and I know that many viewing audiences watch it religiously. And so I want to know from you, why do you think people are so captivated and wanting to know what the weather is every day, or 3 times a day, or 5 times a day?
Well, I think the weather affects everyone. From the moment you wake up, what do you think about? What am I going to wear today? It all depends on the weather. If it's hot, you're going to wear something light, maybe something light colored. If it's going to be cold, you're going to want to bundle up. If it's going to be raining, the ladies maybe don't want to wear their nicer heels. Do they need the umbrella? It's hard not to get hooked on the weather because it affects our lives in so many ways, especially during hurricane season. I was the girl glued to the television, watching the forecast cone, seeing the track had shifted, hanging on the meteorologist every word. And I remember Don No and Bob Soper coming to visit the schools, and I was always fascinated by the weather, always looking up in the sky and in awe of Mother Nature, of the atmosphere, and all the processes that led to all the rain during the rainy season. Brian Norcross, a meteorologist here in South Florida, really inspired me, because I will never forget back on August 24th, 1992, when Hurricane Andrew slammed South Florida. I was in Westchester with my family. The power went out, we were in the house, and the wind sounded like a freight train. It was one of the most frightening experiences of my life. But Brian Norcross, he was on the radio, we were in the dark, and his voice was calm and steady. He guided us through the storm, and he really made us aware of what was going on. And so, thinking back to that experience and how he was there for my family and for this community, I feel a huge responsibility as a weather anchor now for CBS 4.
It often appears being a news anchor is a very fun and glamorous job, but I know that there's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes. And so I'm wondering if you could tell me what shocks people when you tell them about the demands of your job.
I feel what most shocks people is the fact that I wake up at 3 in the morning because I have to get here by 4 in the morning. I don't have a weather producer. I have to do the research. I have to analyze the weather data. I have to look at the maps, the satellite imagery, the current conditions, the climate summary from the day before. And I really have to put together and compile my own forecast and be aware of what I'm going to be talking about throughout the day. And in addition to that, once I'm done with the forecasts and updating the graphics and putting everything together for the newscast, then I have to go to the makeup room. I do my own makeup. I do my own hair. I have to throw on my mic, my IFB, so I can hear the producers, and then boom, we're on the air from 5 to 9 in the morning. Most people would be surprised to find out that many weather anchors or weather personalities on television don't have their meteorology degree. I'm almost done with my studies. I've been studying meteorology now for the past 3 years while juggling a full-time job.
Wow.
And as of August, I'm going to be earning my certificate and I can officially be called a meteorologist. As an artist, I really feel that you need to be able to tell a story. And day in and day out, that's what I do. It's the art of communication. And I think working in the broadcasting industry, that is essential. And so thankfully, I've had all these great experiences and opportunities that have led me here.
How did you get where you are today?
Oh, it has been a long and exciting journey. I got my start in the anchor chair at the University of Miami because I was studying broadcast journalism there. And so I anchored their UMTV daybreak and primetime newscasts. And in addition to that, while I was in college, I stumbled upon pageants. And I never imagined that I would ever be competing in Miss America when I was a little girl. Competing in Miss UM and then eventually winning Miss Miami and Miss Florida. And, you know, participating and competing at Miss America and winning second runner-up was an amazing learning experience.
The second runner-up is Miss Florida, Lissette Gonzalez.
She had actually earned over $50,000. Lissette Gonzalez graduated debt-free from college because of this organization, because of the Miss America organization.
And all that jazz, I hear that Father Tip is gonna blow the blue.
You know, there's always that stereotype of the beauty pageant queen, and the truth of the matter is that I didn't start competing in pageants until I was in college, and it was to earn scholarship money, and because of the talent portion and because the interview portion was such an important part of the Miss America system. I would have to say that that was a tremendous experience for me because I was able to meet people in the broadcasting industry, in the music industry, in the entertainment industry. The broadcasting agents that have represented me to this day, I work with them and they have helped me so much along the way. I met incredible people that really helped to guide me and really become this woman that, I feel comfortable pretty much in any scenario. Throw me out there, you know. I had to wear a swimsuit during the Miss America competition. And I think after doing that, you can pretty much do anything. But more importantly, as Miss Florida, I served as a representative for the state. I traveled all over the Sunshine State, and I was able to speak at different events. And I actually also had a platform, cultural diversity, promoting acceptance and fighting against discrimination and racism. And that was very fulfilling for me.
Do people sometimes recognize you on the street?
Yes. It happens more often than not at the gas station, when I head out to get breakfast, at the mall, on the street corner parking my car, and then I get asked the question, so, how's the weather going to be today? Is it going to rain? Or when we're talking about the tropics and everyone's watching the forecast cones, is it headed our way?
Was there a weather woman you admired growing up?
Unfortunately, no. When I was growing up here in South Florida, it was all male weather forecasters and meteorologists. And so I hope as a weather anchor and a future meteorologist that I can serve as a role model for young women out there who aspire to become a meteorologist or work as a weather anchor or work in television. Because growing up, we had Don No and Bob Soper and Brian Norcross, who's a huge inspiration to me. But I feel like I'm helping to pave the path, and that's pretty exciting. All right, Elise, it's time for a little green screen 101. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I gotta warn you, the first time that I worked on a green screen, my hands were waving all over the place, and there's definitely a zone. This is my world. I spend hours standing here in front of this green wall, and it's kind of magical because folks at home, they just see the graphics. And basically, I don't have a prompter. A lot of people assume that, like the anchors, I look at the camera and I have a script, and that I've written out what I'm going to say when it comes to the forecast, but that's not the case.
Do you imagine a person or audience that you're speaking to?
Yes, I absolutely do.
Yeah.
I imagine a friend, my neighbor,
Oh.
a cousin, my mom, who sometimes watches in the morning. And working the weather wall is a little bit tricky. It takes time to get used to it. There really is an art to forecasting because you have to throw in your personality, your own little anecdotes. And when the anchors toss over to me, I have to be able to improvise and roll with the punches and be spontaneous. And so that's really something I enjoy about my job, which is really, really fun. Now, when the weather is serious and we have severe weather or active weather, obviously there's a different tone. If we're talking about the showers here on the radar and satellite, we're going to point to the clouds and show how all these clouds are streaming in from the Gulf of Mexico. And this was what happened yesterday. We had tons of activity. And so you want to indicate what's happening or what's happened. And then, for example, I click as I'm pointing there because now we want to fast forward to what's happening this morning. So sometimes I'll have to do that. I'll have to click so that I can advance a graphic while I'm speaking about one thing, but really already moving on to the next topic or the next element in my show. So that's the radar and satellite, and here are the temperatures. Now with the temperatures, I want to let you try and point to the different locations and cities and see how it feels.
So, let's see, can I get Pompano Beach?
Okay. Let me help you out. Okay, you're gonna want to. It's very strange, I know.
No,
there, yeah, exactly. There's Pompano Beach, Opelika,
Homestead
down there, and then click A.
Click A.
And this is what's happening with the winds.
Okay.
So
it's windy in Pompano Beach.
Right, you've got winds about 13 miles an hour out of the east, and usually, you want to indicate they're coming in from the east. And just point to the different cities. Is it becoming a little easier for you?
It's really disorienting. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Now this is a big one.
I don't know what.
All right, so here we have the national map, and obviously quite a few cities that you can point to.
Yeah.
You want to try to hit New York?
New
I want to see if you
York.
can do
Can
it.
I do New York? Is it? Okay, New York is over here.
Almost.
Almost.
Yeah. There it is.
There's New York.
But turn your hand the other way because I think it just.
This way? No, this way.
There you go.
This
or
is how
point. You can actually just point New York City. And then you also want to make sure that you're turning your attention to the viewer as you're looking at the camera, which is like a mirror basically. When you look at the camera, there's no prompter. It's basically you looking at yourself, and instead of the green screen, the graphics are there. So this is how I guide myself. Basically, I have the camera in front of me with the monitor, and then over on the right side, I have a monitor so that if I turn in this direction, I can see what's going on. And then over on the left side, I have another monitor. It takes a lot of coordination.
It really does.
It's definitely, I call it the green screen zone.
The green.
But once you get a handle on it, it can be fun. And I have tons of viewers and folks that say, thanks to you, I can get up and go, at 5 in the morning, real dark and early. And, I think it's pretty cool that we get to do that every day to help people get their day started.